do you feel like, hey, this is your last Olympics? Like I don't, I know that other athletes that I've talked to, like when they get into their 30s, it's kind of like, I mean, Jesus, I remember the workouts I used to do when I was in my 20s. I would literally have like several heart attacks just attempting them like today.
Yeah, I mean, I think, as you get older, you need to focus more on recovery. And that's really key. But also, I turned 35 this month, so I'm technically, I can't remember the technical name for it, but like I'm geriatric for having a kid, which we're not supposed to say that word, but there's a different word. It's like, advanced, I know what it is. It's advanced maternal age. Anyway, I will be advanced maternal age, and I want to have more kids. So like, it's hard because it was really hard to come back after giving birth. Like I underestimated that process. So it's hard. Like I don't want to be done with sport, but I also want to have a family. So I don't know. Athletes are weird in the sense that we plan out, especially like myself, I guess I plan out everything until the Olympics. And then it's like, oh, I have zero plans and I have no idea what I'm going to do after.
So like the fascinating thing for me is the comparison between, and I think it's different for like big three male athletes in the States but it's super interesting to hear, like, it's so similar for my wife has gone through something really, really similar. I'm very curious and interested. I know lots of friends, women in business, who struggle with a lot of the same stuff, where it's like, hey, at a certain age, there's the conflict of like family planning versus career.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, hey, you are incredibly bright, successful by any objective measure, but then there's this sort of cliff where it's like, well, now what? Do I push for a higher job? Do I focus on family? And like, as a man, I'm very, very cognizant of like, hey, those are choices I don't really have to think about.
Yeah, I mean, my husband says all the time, he's like, if roles were reversed, like either way, like if he was the athlete or if he could have the kids, we would have like 4 kids by now. So it's just, it's interesting. And it's not something that we regret or that we don't like, we're very happy with where we are, but it's interesting, right? Because females are the only ones that can have babies.
Yeah. And like, I can't even imagine for just like, especially as an athlete, like one thing is like, I never thought about before having kids. When you're in high school and middle school and you take sex ed class, they basically make it sound like if you ever have unprotected sex,
you'll have a kid.
Right. It's like, bam, babies. And like, that's what I thought it was until we started trying. And it was like, after the first couple months, you're like, wait, why didn't this work?
Yeah.
And it took us 6 months of trying for the first one. And then it wasn't until like later that I realized like, no, actually that's totally normal. And if anything,
it is
pretty quick.
Yeah, because they say like, you're not even supposed to like talk to a doctor or seek out help unless you've been trying for over a year.
Yeah. And like the second one was it was the first time we took a vacation day in like 6 months or something. And this was during COVID, he was just born. So like he was conceived during COVID, and it was like, we took a vacation day. Olivia was in daycare and we spent the day in our pajamas watching 90s action movies and making a kid. But it is funny. Like, you're not thinking about it. You're not planning it. But then all the ramifications for Connie of, oh shit, my career. Like she wanted to do business school or do other things. It's like, now what? Like, oh crap, my life is totally weird now. And for a man, it's like, and
as an athlete too, it's interesting because, right, like when you're pregnant, you're out. So like those 9 months that you're pregnant, you can't work. And then post baby, you can't work. So it's just kind of interesting as an athlete because you kind of have a really big window when you can't compete. But yeah, I mean, it's something we were pretty fortunate. Like we got pregnant 2nd month trying, but it was, I feel like it's something that's not talked about enough is fertility issues or, having miscarriages or like people just don't talk about this stuff. And I don't know why. Like it should be normalized. Everyone goes through it. And I always think as well, it's weird how it's still the norm to not tell anyone that you're pregnant until 12 weeks. Like, because to me, I'm like, if I have a miscarriage, I want all my friends and family there to support me. And like, I can't imagine not telling anyone and then going through that alone. So
Yeah, that
I don't know. That's like a something I would love to be a crusader and fix.
hey, I mean, it's unusual, I think, for just two people to just be talking about it openly, which is great.
Yeah, it is.
I usually get into trouble because I don't have a filter, or I don't have a very good one. Sometimes I do, but like I'm very, very open and candid about pretty much everything, including like feelings. And I also don't really, I have no shame. Like I was on the rugby team for a while, so like we're used to doing crazy ass nonsense and like, whatever, I don't care. But also includes
Yeah,
like topics and things to talk about. Like, and then
I think that's good. I feel like it's healthy. I don't, I'm kind of the same. Like if you ask my closest friends, no topic is off limits. Like I will talk about anything and everything. And I think that's healthy and good.
this is why we get along so well, because it's like, yeah, we'll just talk about it. Who cares?